No. Wait, ready?
And
hello and welcome. No, we got to do the
to,
hello together.
Wait, how does it go? We do it together. Wait.
The hello
Hello.
part. Hello.
1, 2, 3.
Hello.
And welcome to the live stream
of consciousness.
Yeah, welcome. We are live.
Welcome.
Michael's in New York. I'm in California. And, that's how we do. It's how we do it every week. We're so excited, though, because this episode is sort of driven by the show's loyal fandom. And it's some real practical application of the fabulous things we've been trying to promote and remind your souls of over these, past, I don't know, we're like getting close to like a half a year or something going on.
Yeah, this is episode 14, man.
We're
and that's only since we started counting.
Since we started counting as the live stream of consciousness, there was there was ones before that.
A couple of things before that. Yeah, we evolved.
So it's very, very cool. Me and Michael are friends in real life, and therefore we like to start our show the same every week. Michael's in. How was your week? What's going on, man?
I had a great week. Actually, you forgot to mention the Rams Network, who so graciously is hosting us. The Rams Network is Rock Against MS, and
we must rock against the MS.
and when we started doing a show, we were just kind of doing it on Jesse's YouTube channel and Facebook, and Jesse's has a friend, Nancy, who has a Rock Against MS Foundation on Twitch, and we were like, oh cool, we'll be Twitchers, right? And then some people were like, no, it's streamers, you'll be streamers. And I'm like,
Twitchers.
No, we're Twitchers.
We're Twitchers, on Twitch. Michael.
Yeah, so we Twitch. We're down with it, and so also trying to raise money for the Rams Network.
I think it's funny.
What's that?
I said I know it's like lame joke, but I think it's funny.
I think it's a great joke. I love play on words. That's like perfect play on words. You're on Twitch, you're a Twitcher. That's all there is to it.
Is the side effect of MS ever twitching? Because then it really gets horrible.
See, you just took it somewhere new.
I took it somewhere. See, I knew because I knew. I'm like this is skirting with disaster.
So now we have Taylor, who's named the Blazettes. I guess that's the Jesse Blaze fan club.
Blazettes. The Blazettes, because even the boys are girls.
And we have Angela in Georgia.
Nice, sweet, feminine Tim Lorette.
Yes.
But some of our other nice men. Yeah, it takes a feminine man. I like the Blazettes. So how's your week been going?
Oh, man? Yeah, that's right. You asked me a question and I totally went off track. You see, I'm learning.
I needed you to back me up. I'm glad.
I'm learning from the best. So I had an amazing week. Actually, today I had an easy day. I have this like dye sub printer, and I basically took pictures at a friend's middle school graduation for her son, like a photo booth kind of thing, like taking pictures and then printing them out for the kids, putting them in a folder. And it was like, it was a nice break. I was smiling because I realized like I've really curated my life to be able to, have these jobs that give me some security and be able to just be like, oh, I'm doing this today. I'm not going to be at work, and be able to do other jobs that bring in more money. And I'm feeling very, what's that word they always talk about? When you're
hopeful, optimistic.
No, you're abundant. I'm feeling abundant.
You're feeling abundant. I'm feeling the abundance. That's awesome. Yeah. Congratulations.
So that was good. And other than that, everything else is going great. Exactly. I've been watching this show. So I was sitting back one day and I was like, wow, I've really taken control of things and I'm manifesting the life that I want. And that word manifest came into my head. And then I saw there was this new show on Netflix called Manifest, or maybe it's an old show, actually.
Oh, I was kind of interested in that myself.
Yeah, and I started watching it, and it's freaking awesome. It's like awesome. I'm not going to do it. It's not spoiling it by saying this. The premise of the story is a plane takes off, disappears, and lands 5 years later. And when the passengers come back, they all have kind of some interesting abilities, and it's done really well. I like it.
Very cool.
So that's what I've been doing.
I might have to check it out.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, life is good. This weekend, the Family Feud episode, Celebrity Family Feud with my family aired.
Yes.
So I know I've got some new people who might be wandering onto my page. So I figured I would give proper introduction to what we're doing today.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a bunch of great things going on. Even though like the full moon has been kicking my ass. I just did
Oh.
a card reading today. I do angel card readings and
Mhm.
tarot for friends, and and professionally. And I just was doing one for a friend today who really needed it, and it just seemed so much like the message was, "Oh man, the full moon sucks, doesn't it?" But you're doing all right, and that's how I've been feeling.
Right.
Like really kind of kicked around by energy, but
Yeah.
you know, going with the flow and doing it. I finally heard back from the Alice Cooper people who I wrote that
Oh,
Alice Cooper narration thing for, which I'm really
nice.
excited about.
Nice.
And whenever I find out, any way you might be able to check it out, I'll let you know. But
Sweet.
I got back like a marked up copy, and it had two notes on it. They didn't understand what the Akashic record was because I mentioned the
Wow.
library of the Akash, and they were like, "What is
Right.
this?" And I said, "Well, it's
Oh,
a word that means, the sum of all the information." And they were like, "Well, who knows what that means?" And I was like, "It doesn't really matter if nobody knows what it means." I said
in
I could turn it
context.
into I said I could turn it into a nonsense word if you wanted me to. I said,
Right.
but if
The
some
context was
people
there.
some
Yeah.
people know what that means,
Right.
and the context is appropriate.
Yeah.
And then there was just like one word out of place in at the last sentence of my script, so I felt very like woohoo, oh yeah.
Dude, that is
um
so awesome.
yeah, I'm working on a pitch for Marvel Comics right now, which I'm excited about now too. So I'm just like moving from one thing to another. And second week of
Amazing.
Food Paradise, kicking some butts and getting ready to book some
Amazing.
tickets for my kids to fly and hang out with me for the summer. So I'm very
Sweet.
excited, and life is generally very good. And yeah,
That's
you
great.
know.
That's great.
So
Somehow, you'll bodied the Bradshaws. That's what Taylor says.
oh yeah, oh yeah. If you, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything. You should go watch Celebrity Family Feud. It's great. I think it's on available on Hulu.
Yes.
But
And ABC.com, but you gotta have
so
a
do
subscription.
we have? I forgot to ask you before the show. Do we have a email set up this week?
Oh, we do not. You forgot to bug me this week,
Oh, I
and
forgot
I've
to
been a
bug
little
you. I
bit
didn't bug
busy,
you about it.
so
All
we
right.
don't. But
We'll
people
we'll
can
save
get in
it.
touch with us on social media and stuff. I mean, right? No, I
I
guess
just
I
really
don't know.
think
I
I
know we should
really
have a
think that
special. You
it's
want to
like
do this segment? All right.
no, and I want it to and, like I want people to be able to withhold their
Okay.
name. It's just
So
so
that
clear who it
so
is and who's sharing. If like
yes.
an email is a little bit more anonymous and intimate, and I
So
just want to give
promise me
people the
this, Jesse.
opportunity.
We'll
We're
talk
talking
during the
about
week.
giving the audience, which we talked about last week, an opportunity to ask their questions or share their
Yeah.
personal stories anonymously if they'd like to. On a future episode of the show, probably like 2 months from now. So yeah, we're gonna we're gonna hold on that part of it, but I thought it was appropriate if we could give out the email on this one because essentially that's the story here. While if you saw on my Instagram, I said that Kenzie is a very good friend of mine, and we've been friends since like high school, but really not talked very much for a while, and we just reconnected and bonded big time, and also really bonded very much over sort of spiritual stuff and the journey and learning things and trying to find your happiness and figure out your balance and all this stuff. And despite my proclivity to talk a lot, I seem to manage to say some reasonably worthwhile things to Kenzie along the way, and she was really excited and encouraging, and has been very supportive as a listener on the show
Super. Yeah. Super
from the
supportive.
jump. As soon as we started doing it, she really got behind us pretty quickly, and has been listening every step of the way. And as me and Michael like to say a lot, we're really doing this to keep the conversation that we usually have in our minds outside of ourselves, and keep ourselves honest and make sure that we are practicing what we preach. And as we come back around every week, I know it makes us do so. And essentially that's what Mackenzie started to report back to me, that Jess, I'm really glad that I have this show in my life. I've just seen it as a good excuse to remind myself what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to live. And
Mhm.
it's actually, kept me honest and led me down a whole bunch of real paths. And I'm going to let Michael take it from here because this is kind of when Michael started to get to meet Mackenzie as a person and see her story. And if you can lead us in properly to
Yeah, totally.
having Mackenzie come and
And
chat about what she's been
yeah, you
experiencing and
you
what she's
you
been
actually
doing.
reminded me, and you said it really well. And it's funny because I have a lot of friends who are very spiritual, psychic mediums. Some of the people that we've brought on the show, and I've felt this calling, to kind of do this thing and help people and talk about this stuff, but I never really wanted to be one of those, and like, we could help you, you know what I mean? And I feel like we've found a good balance. We're not like telling people we can help them and that they're broken and all of these things, but we're just talking about these things, like you said, and reminding people to kind of be accountable to themselves.
Oh my
you
God, it
know
drives me crazy. There's
it's
like there's a lady named Teal Swan, and all and
Oh,
and all she like.
don't mention names.
It's not that she's wrong, like, because she's
No,
largely very
you're
she's
right.
very right about
The
so much of
message is
the things you're
there.
saying, but the way she puts her messages across so often, I'm just like,
So
"Man,
that's kind of
sweet, like,
that's a decent
girlfriend,
example, right?
you a little patronizing, yo."
Yeah, exactly that, and that's kind of what I didn't want to be. But that's so
Yeah.
so we've been able
But
to
I
do
mean, but
that.
a lot of these patronizing people do have good information,
Yeah,
and but
absolutely.
as an alternative place to be able to just peacefully talk about some of these things, and it's lovely. We have one of our regulars in the chat, Taylor. Um, she often says, I'm an atheist, but I'm I'm not negging on these kind of ideas, and even though I don't understand these
Right,
things, like, it's interesting to hear, and they do connect with me on so many levels, and I see the merit in it, and that's, you want to be able to have a conversation where people can come into it like that, and it's
right,
not going to be so rigid. Sometimes, I have a little bit of trouble with some of our guests, not that I have trouble with our guests in the way that they speak about the things, because it's a
right,
little dense for some of the people who might be like Taylor, who are trying to learn some of these things. But
right.
and sometimes I'll interrupt a little bit to get questions or try to give a little bit more information so it can help the
Well, it's
audience
fun. It's funny
understand.
because Angela says, as someone who has made two therapists quit, y'all are more amazing. Thank you, Angela. We appreciate that.
Oh, that's
But it's
nice.
funny because I always used to talk about how it was kind of like Jesse therapy. But
Hey,
anyway, so
can I
let's get back to Kenzie.
wait before we get back to Kenzie? That
Okay,
reminds me of a little spiritual something that I would love to actually share, and I'm sure this
cool.
is just a cool little bit. But what was it that Angela just said?
She said, as
The
someone who
two
has made,
therapists. Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So I was just saying this to my friend the other day, a good friend of mine, Cindy. Her spouse of 20, almost 30 years passed away like 6 months ago, and it's like, a little hard for her.
Hmm.
Um, and I said, and she said something effective like, people think I need to go to therapy, but, like, I don't know. And I said, well, to try to help her make peace, I said, we get so hung up on the polarity of the thing. Do we acknowledge the thing that we don't like, or do we disassociate ourselves from the thing that we don't like?
Mm-hmm.
And if we've done the disassociation thing, the idea of, well, how much of being in touch with the thing that we don't like are we supposed to do?
Mm.
And the answer is really just a touch. It really
Well,
is
acknowledgement,
just a
acknowledgement.
acknowledgement. Yes,
Yeah.
proper acknowledgement of the thing,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
that's the thing we didn't do by
Hmm.
disassociating ourselves with the feeling, the emotion, the situation, whatever it was at the time.
Exactly.
We
Exactly.
went, nope, I'm not going to feel this at all.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
we think sometimes that, okay, well, now I have to go dwell on my past for forever and make myself, and that is a lot of times what therapy ends up being for a lot of people.
Hmm.
If you really feel like you need to say the things out loud to somebody, and all you have is a therapist, then I recommend it. But I recommend you try not to dwell. Try to just reach where there is the things to say and feel, and allow yourself to accept that you feel and accept that you need to say whatever things you need to, and then try to move on with your life.
Right.
Just try to move on from there.
Or you
All
could
you
just
have
listen
to
to
do
the
is
show.
accept it. Yeah, but I really do think that people end up, especially people who want to work on themselves. We get a notion in your head that it's got to be really hard, and some aspects of it are hard, but certain
If it's
aspects
hard,
are
it's
very.
more rewarding, right?
Yeah, but certain aspects of it, though, we make it hard because we
Right.
think it is, and really it is a thing where you just gotta open that door. You don't have to be at the therapist's door every day, which is why we do this show like this.
Mhm.
Why we have you, it's a conversation where we're reminding ourselves of who we are. We're trying to keep ourselves honest about who we say we wish to be,
Right.
but not just tripping over the same. I'm
Taylor
not just.
says her therapist is actually a listener. So we've got therapists listening to us. Maybe they're trying
Well,
to steal our technique.
our therapist is a listener. Well, that's amazing. But it really is true. You don't want to get people into the place where they're just recycling their same living in the past. You want to acknowledge the past that was not acknowledged properly at the time.
Right.
But once you've done that, it's time to move forward, because otherwise you're just still living in the past, now even worse, in a worse way. So it's a really important thing to realize, I think. And I don't know why that was important for me to interject, but I think it was.
Someone needed to hear it.
Spiritually, somebody needed to hear that. Anyway, let us get back to what we are talking about
Kenzie,
here. And
yes.
Kenzie, I'm really excited for her to share her
So,
story,
yeah,
and
so-
Michael is a part of it. As it goes.
Yeah. So after we started doing the show and Kenzie was listening, I didn't know Kenzie before, but she reached out to me and she said, I just want to tell you, a story. And she told me an amazing story that she's going to tell you. And the reason she was telling me the story was because the things that we were talking about, and I think specifically we were talking about living through intention and kind of being aware of what your intentions are every day. And instead of, living under, oh my God, it's Monday, I got to go to work. When you wake up and you say that, you're putting that intention out, and that's the day you're going to have, you know what I mean? So that kind of thing affected her. And it came back and she told me this story, and I was just like, I was in tears. I was blown away. I never expected that our show would do that. And we had like an hour-long conversation in StreamYard, just like this. It was like a Zoom call. I'm loving this interpersonal kind of way to use technology now. And I was like, we got to bring you on the show. And I was going to talk to her and interview her on another show and all of these things. And yeah, she's just got an amazing story, and the ripples that she sent back to me inspired me. And that's when I started saying, you know what, I'm gonna reach out to this guy about those space creation things that I'm doing, and all of the opportunities that I stepped into were all made by me just making that step, and that was inspired by her. It was like,
That is awesome. I'm so excited. Without further ado, can we bring on Miss Mackenzie?
Yes,
please?
Absolutely. So without further ado, I wish I got to get like a soundboard or something to like bring in the guests on with. But anyway, here she comes. She's one of our loyal listeners. What's up, Stevie Sage? I see you out there. And welcome to Kenzie Wardrope. Hello.
Hi.
How's it
going,
going,
guys?
It's going great now that you're here, girlfriend.
So good to be here.
I just want to tell you, tell the long story. Don't feel like you got to rush. You're amongst friends, and we love this story. It makes us look good. It makes us feel like it makes us feel good. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel like we're doing something here. So please, we would love to, hear what's been your experience, and how would you like phrase the story of your interaction with the live stream of consciousness.
Okay, are you good? Did you get it all out? Because I'm gonna go. You good? Okay.
Yes.
So, you guys, thank you so much for your introduction. So just a quick background, as they said, I've been following them since the very beginning, and in my own life, I'm approaching 40 very quickly, and I started to do that like self-reflection thing of where I am in my life, and was I happy with where I am? Am I like making the right decisions? I've been mom to a special needs daughter for 7 years, and it has been incredibly difficult and challenging. It's also been incredibly rewarding. My daughter has a rare genetic mutation called SCN8A. She's one of 450 in the world. It's also known as the cute syndrome. And it causes severe epilepsy, and she has a ton of developmental delays. She does not talk. She's nonverbal. She does not walk by herself. She doesn't feed by herself. So it is a 24/7 job. And while it's, like I said, it's incredibly rewarding, it also became all of me. And I became incredibly consumed in getting lost in just being mom. So prior to pandemic, I think like everybody was like, 2020 is the year I'm going to take my life back. And then I got my passport. I was ready to go do things for myself. And then the world shut down literally a week after the pandemic happened. And I'm an incredibly social person. And all of a sudden, like my whole world just got ripped out from under me. And as we all did, I struggled a lot with not being able to have that social piece and stuff. And then I started to get even more like tied into the, like, okay, now I'm even, for what our bubble normally is, it's even smaller. And it just mentally did a number on me. So when you guys started doing your show, the things that you were talking about were not things that were new to me, but they were things that I needed to be reminded of, that I am in control. We are all in control of how we choose to live our life. And if we put the intent, you cannot accomplish things if you don't put the intent out there. If you don't put the wish, the dream. That's why people have dream boards and wish boards, because they want to put it out there and they see it. And sometimes if you're a visual person, you need to see, like, this is what I'm working towards. And I really got lost in that. So I started listening, and everything you guys were saying and talking about started to click. And I was like, you know what? That's it. I just really need to start focusing on that. So there's like a lot of tangents to this.
I love this.
So you'll have to forgive me.
No, this
We
is
love
so,
tangents.
I got a question.
We were going to call this the live stream of tangents, but we decided on the live stream of consciousness instead.
What's your question?
So
Michael?
wait, my question is, did you mention how old your daughter is?
Yes, I did. 7.
Oh, okay,
She's
7.
7. I said I've been doing it for 7 years. It's
there you
okay.
go. Sorry, I wanted people to know how long you've been doing it. I didn't.
Yeah, so she had her first seizure at 6 weeks old, and it was 45 minutes long, and she ended up being airlifted, and it was incredibly traumatic. And to just give you guys a little bit of an understanding, my daughter's name is Addie. I should have probably said that. Adelaide, we call her Addie. She was having seizures that were so bad that PICU doctors and nurses were leaving the room in tears because they were so devastated by what they were watching my daughter go through. She's had femur breaks. She's busted all the vessels in her face because she had femur breaks, and we didn't know because she has such a high tolerance for pain. So she's nonverbal. She cries, and we don't know what's causing her tears. So it's a lot. And then there was periods where she would cry for hours. She wouldn't sleep. So therefore we wouldn't sleep. And luckily we have nursing now, which is incredibly helpful, but I still don't really
hard
sleep.
That she's in pain, and you can't
Can't even
know
imagine
why. That kills
Mm-hmm.
me, that you have to go through that, and that you have to sort of think the worst whenever anything's happening, because she can't communicate.
So we'll get to parts of that also. Hi, sweet D. That's one of my dearest friends. Sorry, D and Ellie is how you say it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off,
okay.
Michael.
No, that's okay. I'm glad you could see those. I wanted to make sure you could see them when I pop them up.
Yeah. So
her first name is D and Ellie?
Yes.
Yo, what up, D and Ellie? Is that Italian?
It's Cuban. She's Cuban.
It's Cuban.
Spicy.
That's amazing. I like that name.
She's incredible. She just stole me. Her and another girlfriend of mine stole me away on a trip last week, which was awesome. Anyway, so a few years ago, there was this guy on TLC. He had a show. His name is Charlie Goldsmith, and his show was called The Healer. And he would go around and he would do these like energy healings. He like closes his eyes and he flutters them, and people would be healed like miraculously, and there was no explanation for it whatsoever. And he has asked people to research him and do studies because he wanted people to know that it was real, but because it's not science, people didn't take him seriously. But there's like walking proof all over the world that this man's energy
And it
is
wasn't like
real.
evangelical or anything. It was
Nope.
it was all energetic.
It's all energetic.
Sweet.
So
Does
I
he
watched
does he
this.
refer to Reiki when he, you know, does he offer it as Reiki medicine or?
It's not, it's different, but he does
It's
encourage Reiki
different.
also. I can't say it's like terribly different, but it's kind of like
But
along the same idea.
to him, it's different though.
Yes.
So he just calls himself an energy healer. I got you.
Yeah. So he had this show on TLC, and Addie was an itty bitty, and I thought, like, wouldn't it be amazing? This was years ago. Wouldn't it be amazing if I can get him in front of her? And my brother, who has a PR firm, ended up doing his first interview in the States, and I was like, oh my God, Rye, can you hook us up? And because of like business stuff, it didn't work out. So whatever. I was like, okay, maybe someday. So fast forward to a couple months ago, I started following Charlie on Facebook again. Like, I don't even know, it was like out of sight, out of mind. And I started following him, and I started getting notifications of him doing live feeds. And this was probably when I really started to take your lessons of manifesting and intention and like really focus on putting it out there. Like, it's not going to happen if I don't ask for it, if I don't put it out there, if I don't say, universe, like, this needs to happen. So one morning I got up, Addie was up at 5 o'clock in the morning, got her whole morning routine done early. We were sitting on the couch. I pulled up Facebook. Like, I looked like a Mack truck had hit me. And I'm sitting there and I look at Facebook and it says, oh, Charlie Goldsmith is doing a live stream. And in that moment, I was like, wouldn't it be incredible if we got picked to do a live stream? There was 1,900 people on the stream. And he had said, like, okay, I'm looking for my next
Connection.
I almost said victim. It's not victim.
My next victim. I'm looking for my next victim. And then he shot her with electricity. He was the guy from the Star Wars movie, The Sith.
Yeah, so his next healing is what, oh God, his next healing. So I happened to, like, you had like 10 seconds to write something. So I just did like a 2-sentence blurb about Addie. And the next thing I know, on my screen, up pops, Charlie Goldsmith wants you to join the live stream. And I was like, oh, what? Like, I had to look at it a couple times and be like, holy crap.
Wow.
So I accepted the invitation.
Ooh, I just got some chills. Yeah.
Yep. I was so excited. And I'll tell you, like, this continues into like a crazy thing. So
you got
I
somebody
accepted,
else happy to listen in there.
I don't know who that is.
But
we called him Dizzy 229. That's what we called him. What up, Dizzy?
Yeah, guys, say your names if it's not like in your username, so we know who you are. But anyway, so he pulls me up, he asks me about Addie, and he said, okay. And I had her sitting on my lap, and we're going to do a healing. And you can actually, this healing is actually on his Facebook. It's still archived. You can go back and see it. It's like a 3-hour thing.
I didn't know that. You gotta give me a link. We could put it up if you want, but
I'll try to find it. But it's like a 3-hour live, and it's in like the 45-minute or between 30 and 45-minute range. I'll have to go back and look. Anyway, so we talk a little bit. He starts doing his healing, and Addie goes from like really kind of busy, and then all of a sudden you can see it in her eyes. She just does this, and like her whole body just relaxed, and she just focused in on him. And I was like, okay, maybe it's coincidental. I don't know. But either way, like, this is really cool. So now I have adrenaline going, and I'm so pumped. Like, he finishes the healing and he goes, please, like, reach out to my manager, Mandy, let her know how things are going. Okay, sure. Like, you're on the email list? Yes, I'm on the email list. Great. Send her an email. Okay, awesome. Like, we finish, and now I got like really get ready for school. I throw her in the car, and little did I get a message from school, like, she's having these flutters. She hasn't had flutters before. And I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. Maybe it's like her just being excited about everything that happened with Charlie. Fast forward, I bring her home, and I didn't realize in my overexcitement that I had forgotten to give Addie her morning seizure medicine. which is a really big deal. So
Mhm.
her levels tanked, and in a normal situation, she would have like completely spiraled out of control, but she did not. And I can't help but think that that was the beginning of the healing from Charlie. And
And I
Charlie
would
then,
even say that that was the universe making you forget so that you would notice a difference because you probably wouldn't have noticed otherwise.
I 100% agree,
Interesting,
Jess.
Jesse.
I agree. So fast forward a week, he asked me to keep an eye on things, and her teacher said that she started accessing. She has an eye gaze device, so it's kind of like Stephen Hawking. She like looks at an iPad and like picks words, and she has to intentionally pick the words and say things that she wants. And she started doing that a lot more. She was more expressive. She engaged in more eye
Mhm.
contact. It was pretty incredible. And then Charlie called us from Australia and did a second healing, and immediately as he started talking to her, right before he started doing the healing, she like focused towards the phone and heard him. He started the healing, and she does like this and like sucks on her hands, and
Mhm.
immediately her hands went down to her lap. And for a good like hour, her hands were down at her lap, which never ever happens. So
Wow.
again, we kind of like kept tabs on things, and so since her healing with Charlie, um, she has been accessing more and more with communication. She has been like saying like days of the week. She's told her teacher
Wow.
change, which we thought was like, oh, change positions. No, like change my diaper. And she's like nailed it every time. She's never been able to say change my diaper ever. And
Wow.
she started to
I
do
haven't
that.
heard this
And
part of the story. This is great.
yeah, so it's pretty awesome. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago, Addie had a
Yeah,
40
right,
minute
Ninja Kitty?
seizure.
She says
Now I
incredible.
can't. Yeah.
It is.
So
Yeah.
2 weeks
Yes.
ago, Addie ended up having a 40-minute tonic-clonic seizure, which are grand mal seizures, which she hadn't had in over a year. And we ended up giving her 3 rounds of rescue medication and had to take her to the hospital.
Mhm.
And it was a scary night because she hadn't had one of those in a really long time. Her heart rate went up to the 220s. Like it was scary. Did not know that she was going to make it through the night. The
Mhm.
next morning, she is sitting straight up on the bed, and the neurologist said we're going to do an EEG, check on everything, and make sure that things are good. They did the EEG, and she had a 40-minute seizure. Okay, 40, not 14, 40,
Wow.
and the EEG showed that she had no signs of seizure activity, and she had no damage to her brain, and there was no additional slowing, which they could not wrap their heads around and comprehend whatsoever. Makes
Right.
no scientific sense. So I 100% believe that that is because of Charlie's healing, that it caused no damage. And she's actually bounced back. She was able to go to school 2 days
Mhm.
later.
Wow.
So it was pretty incredible. So that's,
So the change was kind of like it was like a permanent change and up a level, almost like she leveled up.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we still see little
Her
things every single
resilience.
day. Oh
Mhm.
God, she's
Yeah.
the most, all of our SCNAted kids are like
Yeah.
the most
Yeah.
resilient kids ever.
Yes.
So
We've got a
that
bunch of Addie fans out there.
yes. That's my cousin. Jesse, that's my cousin Sarah, who knows your brother Cody. Um
So let me just ask you a quick question while you're telling your story. Do you mind if I share a
You
photo
should go
from your
watch
Facebook?
Cody's episode. He was great. Cody was a
yes, he
guest on
was.
the live stream of
Yes, go ahead. You
consciousness a
can
month ago.
share.
Okay, cool. So there's a picture
Alrighty.
from your Facebook of Addie.
So this is a big deal because she is sitting unassisted on a bench, whereas like normally she would topple over and not be able to catch herself. So that picture in itself
Amazing.
is a pretty huge deal. She's
That's
a pretty
great. Oh, and
remarkable
I just
kid.
happened to pick it.
Kenzie, can I tell you, sweetie? I mean, like honestly, I have not been able to connect to the proper emotions. You know, when me and you reconnected, and you know, when I understood your children, you know, you were dealing with some things that I wasn't dealing with. I had no idea um, until I saw what you were so happy about. You know, you because you were sort of saying things to me, and I was like, well, that's a pretty minor thing. Like, and then
Inch
all of a
stones.
sudden I started to realize that this is the game that you're playing. These small things are humongous, and my heart goes out to you, having to deal with the extenuating circumstances, especially of not, feeling like you can't communicate with your child when they're in pain. That's a really, really hard one. And and it is just, I want our listeners to understand what major turns and movement this is, for a child that
Yeah, totally.
is not doing any of those things. And we're so happy to see all of this change. And it really is an open mind and the space to believe. I gave some advice to one of my friends who I did a reading for, Gina, who's in the chat with us right now. It's true. We were talking about her son is dealing with a little bit of difficulty, and she was like, I don't know what to what to do. And I said, well, if you lean into things aren't right and they're a failure and they don't know what they want to do and they're a wreck and they're depressed, you're just going to add energy to that. Really, the best thing that you can do for anyone, for your children, always, is believe that better is there for them, and believe that they can. Oh, look at that picture! I love that one. And
Thank you.
believe that there is more on the table and that progress is going to be made. And I
Exactly.
really believe, one of the biggest parts of this journey, whether you knew it or not, because I think a lot of parents don't realize what they're doing sometimes, is you opening yourself up to, she can have better than this. Addie can break through. Maybe if I just open my mind and and open up to some things that I wasn't necessarily thinking about yesterday, there could be some amount of change. And our children feel that. They feel that, like, our belief in them, our belief that things can be better. And that is, I really believe, the strongest thing that we can do for our children when they are going out. The tough love thing, as much as we might like to do it, most people don't respond to that in the best way. And when you can be encouraging and you can try to remind people why you love them, remind people the things that you see in them and the potential that that they hold in your heart. That helps people to remember their own potential. That helps people to believe that tomorrow might be better because you can see tomorrow. And not always, sometimes that can be a huge thing when the other person can't. And even when the other person can, sometimes you could be standing in the way as a barrier, by not believing. And I believe a lot of parents do that sometimes, where they get that diagnosis from a doctor and they just go, well, the doctor said this and that's it, and here we are, and this is going to be my child's life for the rest of his life.
You know what? The other thing about what you said, Jess, too, when you encourage someone and tell them, the things that you're saying, is it feels good for you too to say that to that person. It's all that whole energetic thing. It's all an energy exchange. You're putting out that energy, and especially when it's received, it even feels better as you're putting it out. It amplifies the whole fact that you put it out there. I mean,
now, doesn't it make you feel better?
Pigs
nice.
aren't coming home tonight, though.
Yeah, no.
So I just wanted to touch back on a couple things.
Yeah, we cut you off. Sorry.
That's okay. The little things.
You got
we
time,
like to,
all the time in the world, my love. Yeah.
Don't give me all the time in the world, because I'll take it all.
You go.
So the little things we call, first of all, there's no such thing as a little thing. The little things are not so little. That is not just for my kid, that's for life. Like, the little things are not so little. But the smaller milestones we call instones in our community. And we celebrate them all the time, because our kids live them all the time. There's been so many times where Addie has been able to take a step, and then she's had a bad run, and then she can't even hold her head up anymore. So then when she's able to hold her head up, we celebrate that again. We celebrate her standing again. And it's not just her, it's all of the kids in our community. They're the most resilient, amazing humans, and their souls are so strong. And yeah, and there was a doctor who was huge in our community, who unfortunately has since passed. She was really young, but she was incredible. Who we have these gatherings of clinicians, researchers, families, and I was standing in the back of the room with her one time, and I said to her, It's like, Mandy, my daughter's 3 years old and I've never heard the word mom. I've never been called mom. And that's really hard. That's a hard thing. And she, as
That's
a
what I'm
mom,
talking about. The level of
yeah.
things that like I can't even understand. And like as I've seen it, there's a part of me that like just wants to cry for you. And then I'm like, oh, this is the thing, and it's all right, and it's gonna be okay. And I understand, but like, oh man, like
So,
it really is.
so
So it's so hard as a parent to see somebody else having to like it's those
so
small things are make it so real, and
well,
it's such a great journey to hear that she's expanding beyond where she's been for so long.
right. So Mandy had turned to me and said, just because she hasn't said it now doesn't mean she won't ever say it. So you always hang on to hope. And that's something that I've always done anyway. But to hear it from a doctor who was also a mom was also really encouraging. And people tell me all the time, like, I don't know how you do it. Number one, I don't have a choice. Like, this is not something that I chose, but I will always choose my daughter every single time. I will do anything for my kids every single time. And then they start to compare themselves. Like, if things are hard for them, they're like, well, you've got it harder. Like, it's all relative. And I try to say that all the time too. Like, my life is hard in its own ways, but just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean that your hardships aren't real either. And I will celebrate your kid graduating kindergarten. I will celebrate your kid riding their bike for the first time, for driving their car. Like, I will always celebrate that because it deserves to be celebrated. So just because it's not up, there's Addie with her Nana. And Addie didn't smile for
I'm just finding
years.
these pictures of her. She looks so, you can see this joy, it's there,
She
it's
has
definitely there,
such she has such an amazing energy, and it's not just because she's my kid. I literally
Right.
have passed strangers on the
She's here
street that
for
are
a
like,
reason. Yeah.
she's got such a great energy and such a kind heart and soul, and you just fall in love with her.
I'm imagining everybody who must encounter her is affected by her, and that's the reason
You
she's
see
here.
it.
She's an angel, for sure.
She
There's no
she
doubt.
is. So funny you say that. I always say that she looks like a cherub. Like, she has that cherub kind of face to her if you
Yeah.
look at like old paintings of them. Um, but yeah, no, she's pretty incredible. But so Addie is like the big manifestation of things. But I do also want to touch on a couple other things quickly that
Do it.
came from watching your show. So again, going back to the like wanting to be happy and like finding myself again, I put it out there and I was having a conversation with one of my best friends, and so for those that know me well, know that and I'm not giving away the detail of stuff because it's still a work in progress. But Michael, you know where I'm going with this.
Super
I
exciting.
love, this is where you're going to be like, phew. Well, eventually. So I love writing cards to people. I think they're very personal. And I was having this conversation with her, and I said, I would love to just do something for myself, for other people, where I can do cards. And she told me how to go about doing it. She told me to contact this other amazing person who is right there, and you should all learn all about. It's Cultivate. We'll get into
Cultivate.
that.
Okay.
Yes, later. But so we bounce stuff off each other, and this thing it's starting to manifest and it's starting to work itself out. And when I had gone away to my mom trip last week, I was sitting on the porch. I woke up earlier than everybody else, made myself a cup of tea, and I'm sitting there, and this older gentleman, it's like 6:30 in the morning. This older gentleman is like walking across. We stayed in an old general store, and he's got a camera. And we were we just started talking small talk, and I looked at him, I said, do you want to take a picture of the building? He's like, well, I mean, if it's okay. I was like, I can move, it's 3 feet, like, go ahead, take the picture. And then we started small talking, and through our conversation, he said to me, there's a real like lost art of communication with people, especially with handwritten letters. And I was like, okay,
Universe is
which,
talking to
wait,
me.
Michael, it gets even crazier. So then he was telling me about this movie that was about this guy who like wrote letters to people and stuff. 2 nights ago, when I was watching Jesse's Family Feud at my parents' house, I watched Wheel of Fortune afterwards. And The puzzle, like one of the main puzzles, was a handwritten letter, and the following puzzle was make it happen. So big, like, holy cow, if that's not the universe saying to me, like, yep, make it happen. Make it happen. I just was sitting there like, this. I took a picture
You
of it and I
are
was like, this is
you are
like,
just like, yeah, you are
The
the
universe is speaking
example
to you,
of
Kenz.
the universe really speaking to you. Totally amazing.
so yeah. So I just want you guys to know it's not always easy. And I'm a very positive person, but I also struggle with a lot of things as well. Like there's a lot of things that I struggle with, but I always tried to keep the positive out there because, and I always come back to it because if you get stuck in the negative, it's really hard to unstick yourself. So you find that you connect with people that bring you up and lift you up, and that help you see the vision and help you with your intention, and they compliment and they are encouraging, and that's what's going to help you also with your intention. It's not like
Mhm.
most of it has to come from you, because if you don't put it out
That's
there,
great.
it's not going to happen.
That's
But
great
you also
advice.
need
Yeah.
to, yeah, like the people around you are going to help push you over the line. And so to come back full circle, um, that really started with you guys. So, I mean, again, I've always had these tools, but it was kind of like collecting dust in the back.
Mhm.
And without you, I would not have been able to get Addie in with Charlie. I would not have been able to think of this amazing thing that's happening with these letters. Or I've also asked, like, put it out into the universe to have a larger web of amazing people. And through that, I have met the most incredible people. Um, Michael, you are certainly one of those amazing people. Jesse, I'm
Thank
so,
you.
so thankful that our paths crossed again. You bring me so much joy. And even, in the crazy, like, Kenz, I need to talk to somebody moments, I love it because I know that I'm like our spirits are connecting and it's good, and I'm able to help you
Yes, you have to understand
kind
this
of.
woman has been there for me so many times when I've needed someone to be there for me, just like my friend Michael Zinn. And, that's how me and Kenz know each other as really good friends. And thank you, Kenz, for always being there. Yeah.
And you
You
know
don't.
what? I think that's
I want to take a teaching moment too.
okay.
If you don't mind. So just to encapsulate, what Ken's has done here, and just so there's no questions about it, because sometimes these things can say, oh, I thought happy things, and that's not what happened here. Okay, going back to our laws of attraction, right? Idea comes before form. There is infinite potential, and then there is the inspired action that must be taken, right? So the first thing that Ken's did was she opened herself up to the possibilities. There was other possibilities, right? The second thing that she did was when when an opportunity arose, she took action upon that opportunity. So remember, first, you got to open your mind, just the possibility that it is out there. Once you open up your mind, then the universe is going to send you magnetic attraction because you've opened up yourself to it. And when that magnetic attraction comes, you don't go, you go, aha, it's exactly what I've been looking for. And this is what Kenzie has been doing like
Beautiful.
gangbusters. She has been, oh, there's an opportunity. Let me, hey, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
That'd be so nice. Wouldn't it be so nice if I could win the lottery? Wouldn't that be so nice? I
I
swear
just
to
won
you.
$1 million.
Yeah, I swear to you guys, I honestly, like, the part of my career that is the most successful is my voiceover career. And I swear the reason why I am so successful as a voiceover actor is because I didn't really care. I was just like, oh, that'd be nice.
That's why I knew this was going to be a good teaching
Oh,
moment.
that'd
That
be
was a
okay.
good moment, by the way. That whole
Yeah.
moment was
Yeah.
that was that was the basis of how this all started.
Yeah, it is.
You expressing those things and people just listening, mesmerized by your charm and charisma.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. But seriously, it is just the practical execution of that. When we talked about the law of attraction, we like to talk about the law of the infinite creation, because all it need be, there's an infinite amount of possibilities within. you think it's possible, and then you attracting it is really you pulling it forth from inside yourself, where you're making reality, you're creating a reality where you believe that these things are possible, that there are roads to better. The person who thinks cancer is never going to be cured dies of cancer. The person who thinks, well, maybe I can do something about this, figures out some sort of way to do it. And granted, there are plenty of people who fail at that at the effort, but there is a much better chance that you may succeed if you decide to try.
Definitely. It's like we've said, it's all energy, it's all intention, energetic exchange.
Yeah, and
awesome.
So for this, it's just like weird. I happened to catch their account on Instagram and saw my godfather. He posted a video with my godfather in it, and that's how our webs kind of entangled. And now he's working with him. So it's just kind of crazy how stuff just.
So how does that tie into the card idea, or is that something different?
This is the guy that's helping me do it.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
We don't know who is that. You don't know.
Matt Stanley. This is Matt Stanley. He's from Austin, Texas, and he's just launching this fashion magazine. It's kind of intended for guys, but it's really helpful for everybody, and it kind of teaches you how to take what you have and build on your own confidence and like putting it out there. And he talks about it's actually really incredible.
It's
and
a Tony Robbins fashion magazine.
Sort of, but there's a lot more to it. And there's like stories of some musicians that are in there, Mark Broussard, Ernie Halter, and they kind of talk about their failures and how like they took their intention and put it out there and made something better for themselves. So it's an incredible story, and I just recommend that
there's a motivational aspect to it.
Yeah, and it's so that kind of all kind of like interwove with each other, and now he's doing stuff. My godfather will be in his next issue, and it's just interesting how it all kind of comes together. So you just put stuff out there, and you ask the universe for things, ask them for opportunity, and like you said, you take it.
So what's next for you and Addie, opening up yourself to the possibility that the Wizard of Oz exists and he can grant one wish to all people?
The Wizard of Oz doesn't exist. Of course he exists.
See, this is what we need. There are always paths to better health and better health and better health and better health.
You just kind of, so another, there's two quick philosophies that I was taught by a cousin of mine is you take life on in 5 minutes at a time. If you can make it through the next 5 minutes, you can make it through anything. And how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So with Addie's mutation, I feel like Charlie's healing is taking those bites of the elephant, but in like morsel size. So it might not be an immediate thing, but I'm very much looking forward to like, hey, maybe she'll eat 10 bites of food this week instead of 5. So we start small, and if we hit bigger, then even better. But if we take a little bit longer to get there, we take a little bit longer, but it's just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I want to say, I really got to say this. Like, I don't know. Sometimes people feel like, when people are dealing with terminal illnesses and things like that. I learned from my father. This is a great story, actually. A long time ago, he went to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and at the time, it was the only person that they had ever had who was a terminal patient who came back, and it was based on my dad speaking to him as if he wasn't going to go in anywhere. He went in, and this kid ended up showing up at Twisted Sister concert after concert in the mosh pit. And I ended up, making a whole story based on Santa Claus. Like, what was Santa Claus going to give this girl who was dying when he was working with the Make-A-Wish Foundation? He was going to give her hope for tomorrow, because the whole thing was in the story was that she asked him to surprise her. And so it ends with him saying, I know exactly what I'm going to get you next year. And and we can't be afraid to offer hope to people. It's not false hope for me, and it's gonna make me cry, but it's not false hope for me to hope that my 3 friends who are in wheelchairs, that they don't have to deal with that their whole life, and they can walk again. I don't care what the damn doctors say.
Sure.
I think that's poison when these doctors go beyond their reach, and they say what tomorrow will bring. And tomorrow is a new day, and there are so many things that can happen, and
Yeah.
we need to believe that everybody around us can have more and better tomorrow than they had yesterday.
Just
Thank you, Jesse.
to add to your tears, Addie's doctor actually said to me that there is no reason to not have hope, and that I had told him about Charlie, and he said, which is crazy because I would expect a doctor to be like, well, that's a bunch of crap, like, oh
Right.
well.
Right.
And he said, I have a whole thing about faith and prayer. He's like, I don't expect you to or anybody else to believe it, but I believe it, and like I know what I believe, and if this works for you and you've seen improvement, then you keep doing it. So
Yeah.
there's no reason to say like Addie definitely has a timestamp. This is what she can do, this is what she can't do. So you always hang on
I don't
hope.
think. Yeah, I don't think you've even subscribed to any of that. I was gonna say I'm taking this in because we had a conversation very similar to this when we met, for like an hour,
Mhm.
and it was based on the fact that this energy that I feel from you, is so filled with hope, and it's so filled with this selflessness. But I also feel like you do know who you are. You know what I mean? And that's a super important thing. I think that it's so crazy because so many people live through ego, and they think they know who they are, but they just don't know who they are, and I think you know what I'm talking about. I think our listeners know what I'm talking about. When you know who you are and you're in touch with that, that energy comes out, that vibe comes out, and it affects other people. So I can imagine, just like I said about Addie, how when people engage with her, that they are affected by it, that the same thing is true with you, and the power of the two of you together.
Hey, everybody. Do you
Thank
know
you.
what happens if you don't believe that things can be different tomorrow than they are today?
Things
Nothing.
Stay the
Right,
same.
exactly. Nothing's different. Addie is amazing and brings her strength to the world. Thank you,
She does.
Angela.
Thank you. Michael, I don't
Yes.
know if you remember in that conversation that we had, when I was talking about like figuring out, because Jesse tends to always call me a psychic, which I don't call myself a psychic, but
I call her for
but
her
you,
psychic impressions on things. I go,
Yeah.
Kenz,
it's in,
what do you think about this? Off the top of your head, what do you think? And then she gives me information, and I go, ooh, yeah, that's good. Okay, thank you. And then I hang up on her. And then I'm like, good.
that's
So go
true.
ahead. What are you saying?
But
It's emergencies. I
said,
need this information. All right, just give me the psychic information. And I gotta go.
oh, I'll talk to you later. Bye. So Michael, you had said to me, you had caught me off guard because I was like, I'm not a psychic. I just know things. And you were like, I'm going to stop you right there. What did you just say? So,
Mhm,
being able
mhm,
to like know what things that you know and what you feel, and I think like my hope for people's takeaway from tonight is to know that you do have the power to put it out there. You do have the power to manifest and to put out hope, and to always hang on to hope.
mhm,
And just go for it, because
mhm.
you won't get there if you don't try. You will not get
Right.
there if you don't put it out there. And it's also okay to ask for help.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is. It's
Absolutely.
okay to ask for help. I was forced. Like, can I tell you something? They as my, some might call it, you get your nose rubbed and shit. The thing that you don't want to do. The thing
Oh.
that I didn't want to do for a while in my life was what I thought was be a burden, which really was AKA have other people help you. Like, I wanted to be of like Johnny on the spot of service in my way, but I didn't want others to have the need to help me. And I spent so long avoiding having other people help me that at a certain
Mhm.
point I was just forced to be in a position of like constantly having to ask people to help me,
Right.
and constantly having to sort of get over it until I got over it.
Right.
And it is a thing, being open to receive help.
We
You know,
lost
I mean,
Kenzie,
this
but
is
I think
well,
she's
you know
coming
what?
back. Hold on.
We don't need Kenzie back. I think Kenzie has put us at a perfect time. This was great, and I
All right,
think we
she's
will
backstage,
follow
but
with the
Kenzie, stay
story.
backstage. Stay
Yeah,
there.
stay
You just
backstage,
wait.
Kenzie.
We want to talk to you.
We were great because we're all wrapped up. And that
That
was like
that
you
was
know
yeah, that was
the
amazing.
buy. You know, this is awesome. I'm so excited that our guests, you know, we just keep getting better and better, and real
Yeah,
practical application of the things that we're talking about. It's not a hard thing. It's not roughing up the universe and taking control of your life. It's becoming conscious of your
right,
life and
right.
your part in it,
You
and
know,
going with the flow.
I just want to address something Kenzie said, and it
Sure.
goes back to something I said too about not wanting to come off like, oh, you know, I can help you. You should listen to us because we can help you. You know, whatever. I spent a little bit of time, you know, going to different workshops and hearing very spiritual people speak who are really articulate and were able to communicate these amazing ideas and these amazing energies. But the interesting thing, and this is no, you know, slight to any of them because they're all so amazing, was for me, I didn't feel like I was learning stuff when they were talking about stuff, but I was like, oh, they're articulating my thoughts. Like I always thought that, you know, I always thought good versus that good there, you know, you could either be good or evil, and I would rather be good, you know, whatever these things were. They were simple things, but it was just reminding me. Ken and Kenzie had said that we kind of reminded her of these things. So these spiritual workshops that I saw, it helped me just because it reminded me that I know these things, and that's empowering when you're like, shit, I knew that already. You know what I mean? And I
Let's
see you.
switch good or evil to negative or positive. Oneness consciousness or non-oneness consciousness.
Okay.
What were you gonna say? Sorry.
No,
I was like,
I
good
was
or
done.
evil. I'm like, you know, that one sends the wrong
No,
signal here.
I was done. I was done saying it. I just mean, I was just meaning like things that I've thought my whole life that I just kind of was not in touch with. I get reminded of, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, I already know that, and so that's kind of how my spiritual path went, and I became more and more confident in who I was because I was like, wow, these people who I'm looking at and are so articulate in what they're saying, and they affect so many people. They're just saying stuff that I know, and it just validated me being who I am, you know.
Yeah, you know, and everybody is polarized slightly different. So, you know, if you only read one guru, like if you only read the Bible, which you could consider one guru,
Mhm.
you're just getting a certain slant on things. But then if you also do the Jesus and then you do Tony Robbins, now you got a little bit more of a diverse slant on things. Now you add another person into that equation, and it just keeps getting wider and wider, the nuance to which you understand and appreciate, because basically you've seen a dozen different people choose words to attempt to articulate the
The same
invisible.
thing. The
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
to attempt to
exactly.
articulate an idea that's universal, you know, for everybody. And one of
Exactly.
the ways that I like to do this the most, I've been trying to reach out to this guy. I don't know him, but I love him, Brian Scott. He's got a channel on YouTube. It's
Oh
Brian
yeah, you've
Scott.
mentioned him before. Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, but Brian just does like these excerpt readings of various books, and he covers so many different philosophers, philosophical thinkers, religious figures, various people, again, all talking about the same things in different
Right.
ways. And I really believe the best thing that you can do for yourself to have a really nuanced understanding of so much spiritual idea is
Mhm.
to hear a number of people speaking about it in their ways. I mean, hey, I'm pretty good. And like, really, if I have a gift, like, and that I will pat myself on the back for, it's a very good encapsulation of sort of understanding a thing, you know, a system, and coming to a reasonable synopsis of what the system is, and
Right.
why the system, you know, works. You know, so, and that's what I try to bring here when we talk about these things. I try to, you know,
And the
minimize
gift of
these.
gab.
Yeah, well, thanks. But I try to minimize these concepts down to something that everybody can understand, that we can walk away from, and get how they mean important things in our lives.
Absolutely.
You know,
Well, I love it.
and that is something that you will be able to do yourself as you get a wide breadth of these things. You know, my encapsulation comes from me looking to as many as I can, so I get to the point where I'm like, oh, I see what the through line is here. we're all talking about it in the same way. The shape of the elephant is an elephant. The shape of the animal, it's an elephant. That's what it is. But you got to talk to all the people in the room feeling the elephant before you get the right answer to that question. Anyway, it was a wonderful episode. Thanks so much, my friend Mackenzie, for coming on and doing the show. And thank you to the Rock Against MS Network on Twitch. Thank you to anybody who donated to the show. We love you. We will see you next week when we have who we have on the show next week.
Oh, I didn't even look at the calendar. I think it's one of my friends. Hold on. Let's see next week. No, it's actually next week.
Is it Tanya next week?
Yeah, no. Tanya. Hold on.
Tanya.
Maybe I should let me put
my
that
brother Cody's fiance, Tanya, is coming on the show next week. Tanya has a lot of experiences dealing with UFO alien encounters, some really cool stuff. I don't want to put words in her mouth, honestly, I'm really excited to kind of talk with Tanya because she and I, we've talked plenty here or there, but not really specifically on her journey. And I don't know all of the details of it. And I can't wait to hear, because with little details I hear, Tanya is really experiencing some next level stuff. But I put this next level stuff out there from practical people that I believe can communicate it with you, to you guys, right? Because I want you to not feel so crazy about the things that happen in your life. Yeah, man. Yeah, weird things are happening.
We want to hear the stories.
And actually, just because we don't hear it in the mainstream doesn't mean that it's not happening all the time, all over.
That's right. That's right. So, Angela, we'll get back to you. She's asking if we want to put stuff on the page about contacting us. So, we'll kick it off next week.
We're going to get it together next week, and we'll kick it off next week. And we'll have a new double calendar next week. Maybe we'll debut our double calendar next week, Michael. We'll finish out the next month
for August,
that we got to do for August, and then we'll be ready to go. All right, guys. It was a wonderful show. Thank you guys for joining us on the live stream of consciousness.
Peace out.